What started as a simple flight turned into a story the whole internet would talk about. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that make you think. This flight wasn't just about travel. It was about truth, prejudice, and karma at 30,000 feet. It began like any other day. Passengers boarded, attendants smiled, and the engines hummed. No one expected anything unusual, especially not a quiet black teen who simply wanted to get home. But before this plane would land, a careless act and a cruel heart would be exposed. And the truth would teach everyone on board a lesson they'd never forget. 17-year-old Nia Carter clutched her boarding pass tightly as she made her way through the crowded airport terminal. It was early morning, and the air buzzed with chatter, luggage wheels, and announcements echoing through the halls. Nia was traveling home to Atlanta after spending 2 months in a summer science program abroad, a reward she'd earned through hard work and dedication. She wore a soft gray hoodie, jeans, and a smile that revealed both nervousness and pride. Her father had arranged the ticket himself, telling her she deserved the best seat for how hard she'd worked. She didn't think twice about it, just grateful to relax after a long trip. But as she stepped into first class, the chatter quieted. Eyes followed her. Something in the air shifted, and Nia could already feel it. The flight attendant, Claire Matthews, noticed Nia the moment she entered. Claire was confident, crisp, and polished, the kind of employee who believed she could spot trouble a mile away. But when her eyes landed on Nia, a teen in casual clothes settling into seat 2A, her expression stiffened. Claire muttered under her breath, her lips curling slightly. She leaned toward another attendant. "Are we upgrading students now?" she whispered, half amused, half annoyed. Nia didn't hear the comment, but she could feel the stares. She quietly buckled her seatbelt, opened her tablet, and looked out the window, trying to disappear. The cabin filled with polite conversation and light music, but behind it all, an unspoken tension lingered. One built not from chaos, but from quiet judgment. The plane lifted smoothly into the sky, sunlight spilling through the windows. Nia exhaled, hoping the strange energy would fade once the flight settled. She reached for her earbuds and tried to relax. But Claire had other plans. When Nia asked politely for a blanket, Claire sighed loudly before handing one over. When she passed through the cabin, she skipped Nia during drink service, pretending not to see her raised hand. Other passengers glanced curiously, sensing something off but unwilling to intervene. Nia told herself not to take it personally. She'd faced small slights before. People doubting she belonged, assuming less because of how she looked. Still, as the seatbelt sign dinged off, Nia couldn't shake the feeling that something worse was waiting ahead, something she couldn't quite name. It happened an hour into the flight. The cart rattled softly down the aisle, filled with steaming pots and tiny cups. Claire reached Nia's row, her expression unreadable. "Coffee?" she asked flatly. "Yes, please," Nia said, sitting up and lowering her tray table. She didn't notice the slight tilt of Claire's wrist or the flicker of annoyance in her eyes. A second later, splash, scalding liquid poured across Nia's lap. The shock stole her breath before the pain registered. Burning heat, spreading fast. She gasped, jerking back in her seat, heart pounding. The tray clattered, coffee dripping to the floor. "Oh my—" a nearby passenger began, but Claire cut her off. "Accidents happen," she said coolly, offering a single napkin. One napkin for the mess she'd made. Nia's cheeks burned hotter than the coffee. She bit her lip, holding back tears. Around her whispers rose. A kind woman from 2 rows back offered tissues, glaring at Claire. Nia whispered a quiet thank you, reached for her phone, and typed a single message. It happened again. Landing 3:40 p.m. Her fingers trembled. Not from fear, but from restraint, because the woman who'd just humiliated her had no idea who was waiting at the gate. Nia's calm wasn't just restraint. It reflected a life few could imagine. Though she appeared to be a quiet teen, she carried influence quietly, like a hidden current beneath still water. Her father was a prominent figure in the aviation world, respected, wealthy, and known for his uncompromising standards. Most passengers had no idea. All they saw was Nia's quiet composure, her soft smile despite pain and embarrassment. She glanced at the text she had just sent and allowed herself a small, private smirk. Claire had no idea who she had just humiliated. The audience didn't know yet either, but hints were there. The poised demeanor, the quiet confidence, the restrained fire in her eyes. This wasn't just a teenage girl dealing with misbehavior. This was someone whose world was about to collide with the arrogance of a flight attendant, and she knew exactly how to navigate it. Nia leaned back in her seat, reflecting on the countless times she had been judged for her skin color. Subtle insults, whispered assumptions, and dismissive stares were routine in her life. But today's act was more than routine. Claire's arrogance had no bounds. The deliberate mishandling of a cup, the smirk, the dismissive accidents happen. It all reinforced what Nia already knew about privilege and prejudice. Yet she didn't let it break her. Her humility and patience contrasted sharply with Claire's arrogance, making the flight attendant's actions all the more glaring. The audience could feel the injustice building, and the suspense heightened. As clouds passed outside the window, Nia reminded herself quietly, justice was already waiting at the gate. She didn't need to raise her voice. It would arrive on its own, in a way no one on board could ignore. The plane began its descent, engines humming steadily. Nia sat silently, legs still sore from the scalding coffee, clothes stained but pride intact. She didn't speak. Her calm exterior masked a simmering anticipation. Claire prepared her final announcements, unaware that the storm she had helped create was now closing in. She smiled, practiced and polite, thinking the ordeal had ended. Passengers settled, chatting quietly, oblivious to the tension building on the jet bridge. Only Nia knew the truth. The powerful figure waiting at the gate, ready to step in, a silent authority none could challenge. If only she knew who was waiting beyond that door, the narrator hinted. Claire's misjudgment was about to meet consequences she could neither foresee nor escape. The tension in the cabin was invisible yet suffocating, building suspense for every passenger watching the teen's quiet resilience. As the plane touched down, executives and security personnel lined the jet bridge. At the center stood Damon Carter, Nia's father, calm, impeccably dressed, with eyes that seemed to burn through glass. He surveyed the plane silently, noting every detail. Nia's stained clothes, her quiet demeanor, the subtle tension in the cabin. Around him the air seemed to shift, passengers whispering at the unusual formality. Nia's father didn't speak. He merely waited, commanding attention without raising his voice. The audience felt the build-up to confrontation, the kind of power that didn't announce itself but made everyone aware it existed. Nia rose from her seat, walking steadily toward the exit. Each step carried quiet authority, mirrored by her father's unwavering gaze. The stage was set, and the flight attendant had no idea the reckoning waiting for her. Naya reached the jet bridge first. Damon Carter examined her. The burned coffee stains, the faint redness on her legs, the tight line of her jaw. His eyes scanned the cabin, landing finally on Claire. "Which one?" he asked softly, yet every word carried weight. Naya pointed. Claire froze, realizing in that moment the gravity of her actions. Panic flickered across her face, but Damon didn't shout. Instead, two security officers moved forward silently. Passengers whispered, eyes wide, as Claire was escorted away. Shock replaced confidence on her face. No arguments, no delay, just the quiet, undeniable authority of someone who had been underestimated until now. The cabin held its breath, witnessing that silent justice, knowing this was a lesson in humility that would not be forgotten. Claire was investigated immediately. Other employees came forward, revealing a pattern of disrespect toward passengers of color. The airline announced disciplinary action, including termination, and implemented mandatory diversity training for all crew. Passengers slowly exited, whispering about what they had just witnessed. Damon Carter ensured the message was clear. Humiliation would not be tolerated, and accountability mattered more than authority. Naya didn't seek headlines or public praise. She quietly returned to her studies and charity work, the incident reinforcing lessons she had already lived: dignity, patience, and the subtle power of composure. The airline learned that justice didn't need noise. It needed integrity, and Damon made certain that such an incident would never happen again. Naya returned home, focusing on her projects and studies. She didn't seek fame, only fairness. The lesson of the flight lingered. Power isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it sits quietly in seat 2A, calm, collected, and ready to act when needed. The world may judge by appearances, but respect cannot be faked. Every passenger, every observer learned that quietly watching, quietly enduring, can wield unimaginable strength. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments, and let's make respect go viral.